Hey, I'm Peachy. Today I'm going to be painting a squat. I mean a space dwarf. No, a Hearthkin warrior of the Leagues of Votann. Nailed it. Got it right. Yellow. Yellow's hard to paint. So today we're going to paint some yellow. And I'm shamelessly stealing my Jeans to the Cult colour scheme because it is actually quite easy to do and quite effective. Welcome to the painting phase. Now for our undercoat, what we're going to be using is Sunset Yellow from Colourforge. It's a really good spray paint, very reasonable in price as well. Now, I would advise, if you are going to spray your models, do a preliminary coat, let it dry, and then do a second coat, just so you cover over all that plastic. Because I found, if you do it all in one go, it gets quite thick and goopy. Now, if you don't have any of this, and you don't have any Avalanche Sunset, just use whatever you've got, and then just do a couple of thin coats of Avalanche Sunset. Let's do some squats! Spraying your Votann minis yellow means a lot of painting effort is reduced. And again, just make sure you do a couple of coats of this so you don't clog that detail. Now, using a gentle dry brush of Screaming Skull, we should do a little bit of pre-highlighting. On any bare head, you can either layer with the bone or heavily dry brush, either works. Next up is to apply Skeleton Horde. Now we've thinned this down 50-50, so a little bit of water or contrast medium, whichever you've got. This is mainly for the undersuit, but you can apply it all over, and this will just add an extra bit of depth into those recesses. And remember, just check for pooling in those recesses too. If you do find it pooling, get a brush, dry it off, and then just soak up any excess. What we're now going to do is get Iyanden Yellow and apply that all over the armour. This is neat from the pot, and once dry, you'll see those dry brush highlights really pop out. Applying Garaghaks Sewer from the pot, we're going to pick out the leather parts of the model. This will be the boots, the gloves, the elbow and knee pads, as well as the belts and any kind of pouches and holsters. I'm also going to pick out any weapon handles as well as the hair too. With the armour, leather and undersuit taken care of for now, we're going to pick out any metallic details with Iron Hand Steel. First we'll do the weapons and then we'll pick out the backpack. Now we're going to apply Nuln Oil to those metallic details. Again, just be vigilant for pooling. Using Basilicanum Grey straight from the pot, we'll apply this to the weapon's casing just for a slightly darker metallic finish. Now we'll apply 2 thin coats of Guilliman Flesh. I'm thinning these down to 1 part flesh and 1 part water, or medium, depending which one you've got. And this is the second coat going over. Now for our blue glowy effects, we're going to start first by using Corax White to pick those details out. So that's like lamps, also some consoles on the wrists, as well as just doing a nice broad edge highlight using the edge of the brush on that blade. With all those Corax White details now done, we're just going to get Frostheart straight from the pot, apply that to the lights and consoles, and also apply it to the blade as well. So with all those base coats and shades and a little bit of highlighting here and there, we're now going to base the model. Now I'm going for a nice granite sort of grey effect. This is really going to help that yellow scheme pop out as well. So I'm going to start first by applying some Astro Granite all over the base. When applying the Astro Granite, what I am going to do as well, I'm just going to dip my paintbrush into some water, just so it's a little bit thinner. It just makes it easier to get it around those feet. And once that's dry, we're just going to leave it for around about an hour. Or if you have a hairdryer, you can use that to speed up the process as well. So when you're trying to tie your model in with a base, one of the things I've noticed a lot of people ask me in the past, which is what colour should I use? Should I use this grey or that grey or whatever? I would just use the same colour that you've used for your basing. So if it's Astro Granite, just thin some Astro Granite down and tie that into the base. So whichever texture paint you've got, just thin that down and then use that, because it's the same tone and it just looks right. What we're now going to do is get a paintbrush of Astro Granite, a paintbrush of water, mix it together, and we're just going to slop that around the feet. I'm also just going to stab a little bit around the trousers as well, just so it looks like some of that dust has been kicked up. Now that we've done our dirty feet as well as the Astro Granite on the base, we're now going to coat over with Skeleton Horde. And with that contrast dry, we're going to do a nice subtle dry brush using Screaming Skull. Again, just be mindful, try not to get it too much on the feet and around the legs. It doesn't matter if you get a little bit here and there. And last up, we're just going to paint that rim in Steel Legion DRAB. Now I'm going to do 3 thin coats here, so just take your time and build it up. It'll give it a nice smooth finish. There we are, the base is done, so you can actually just go off and play games with your models. Why not? Leave it at that. However, if you want to stay around for a bit longer, we can add some extra details to make it look extra cool, such as markings, chipping, highlight the face, maybe highlight those consoles and lights too. Stick around. Now, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons down here somewhere. And if you're on Patreon, you don't need to do anything, just thanks for supporting us. Just to add a little bit more punch to those lights and buttons, we're just going to get some Corax White and just do little dots here and there. I'm also just going to run the edge of the brush around that axe as well, just to add a little bit more definition to that edge. Using Magmadroth flame straight from the pot, I'm going to pick out a stripe on both of the shoulder pads. All I'm doing here is using the contours of the shoulder pads edges to help mark out that stripe. I'm also going to do the same thing on the frontal armour using that chest lamp as a guide for the stripe's thickness. And if you have any helmets, you can do the same thing on those if you want to. With our orange markings done, what we're now going to do is add some punch to that flesh, and I'm just going to highlight the edges here and there just for a little bit more definition. Now, sometimes when you do highlighting, it can be quite stark, so what I'm going to do here is just get some Guilliman Flesh and just tone that back a little bit. Again, it's the same mix I did previously, so just use that from your wet palette if you got it. If not, it's 1 part flesh, 1 part medium or water. So to give it that war-torn look to our Votann warrior, what we're going to start off doing here is just chip back in to that orange marking using a little bit of Avalanche Sunset. So that's on the shoulder pads and down the chest. What I'm going to do is just do little nicks and scratches. It's really handy as well if you found that your little stripes are a little bit thicker than they should be, or a little bit wibbly wobbly. Now using Garaghaks Sewer, we shall apply some scratches to the armour. Adding these into those yellow scratches we did will add a little bit more depth as well. Just work your way around and also just drop it around some of those little rivets here and there and into the eyes. Although I used a brush in this just to be neat and take my time on it, if you're not confident enough to do that, just get some sponge, whether that's figure case sponge, household sponge, and then just dab it off like your dry brush. So just get some tissue, dip it into the pot and dab it off. That's another way of doing it, and just be gentle and take your time working around. Again, it's about confidence here. I've spent years doing this. If you're not that confident doing it, just use a sponge. Looks just the same. And there we are, just by adding a few extra details to your Votann models, you just made them look a little bit more badass, a little bit more war-torn. Again, I just like spending a little bit more time adding those scratches, a little highlight here and there. It just makes the model pop, it just makes them look cooler with very little effort required. Now we have a whole bunch of links in the description. Now you'll notice we've got an affiliate link down there for Element Games. Again, if you go to that link, it doesn't cost you any extra, but it does help support our channel. Well, I hope you have found this video useful and helpful. And again, don't forget to click that like and subscribe button. Also, check out our Patreon channel as well. Subscribing to that not only helps keep the lights on and support us, but you get some extra cool bonus content in there as well. Well, it's been a pleasure as always. I love you all. Farewell, and enjoy painting some squats. I mean Space Wars. I mean Leagues of Votann. Space Wars. All I'm going to be doing here is using the contours of the shoulder pad edges to help mark...